The cabin was old. It had stood in its place in the woods for a century or more, guarding its secrets, tender jealousy. It was made of wood, like many cabins, and contained metal and glass, which is also unremarkable for a cabin. 4 sturdy walls held up a slightly leaky but serviceable ceiling, and a traveler seeking shelter could walk through its large, heavy door into its cozy main room and wait out the long night there. As it happened, a traveler did visit the cabin, one particularly dark and stormy night, long ago, before you were born. I'll call him John, for that's the name of all anonymous sojourners. John happened to find the cabin by accident, as so many before him had on a trek through the woods. Separated from his group, he stumbled blindly upon the doorstep, and having no other recourse, knocked on the door. "Hello?" he called hopefully. He felt that surely some friendly stranger would pity him and offer him shelter for the night. The door swung open. A gruff voice spoke from within. "Come in, then, if you're coming," it said, and John hurriedly obliged. "You can just leave your boots by the door. I'll not have you trekking mud and grime all over my clean floor." Obediently, John pulled off his boots, which were indeed caked with a thick layer of brown sludge. "Thank you, sir. It's raining hard tonight, and your hospitality is much appreciated. I'm John." He extended a hand towards a large chair in a dark corner, where the silhouette of a man seemed to be sitting. When the silhouette did not extend a hand in turn, he lowered his sheepishly. "Over here, lad." John turned to see a hulking bear of a man next to him. He jumped a little at the sight. "Oh, I'm sorry," he said. "It's just I thought you were over there." "No need, son. That over there is nothing but a trick of the light. Lights can be deceiving, you know. It's the dark you can trust, for there ain't nothing to see that can play tricks on your eyes. And I'll thank you not to swing that lantern in that corner." John set down the lantern on the rough-hewn wooden dining table and paused to take in his surroundings. The cabin seemed much larger inside than the tiny single room he'd originally taken it for. The kitchen could be seen through an archway to his right, and to his left was a short hallway with several doors. The main room served as both parlor and dining room, containing the dining table and several large armchairs with squashy throw pillows rested on them. It was a place of comfort, save for the strange, dark corner. The large man gestured towards one of the chairs, and John sank into it with relief. "Thanks again," he said awkwardly. "You never gave me your name." "Aye," said the stranger. "Right. Well, I quite like your cabin," John began lamely. But the stranger cut him off. "People call me lots of things, you see. They call me Nick. I like that one best." "Right. Nick it is. Do you get visitors often, Nick? It's just that you seemed like you were expecting someone when I turned up at your door." "Oh, the odd one. Now and again, lots of folks get lost in the woods. They tend to find me before they find the way out. See, I try to be what you might call hospitable to 'em. And speaking of, I was just about to put the kettle on. Excuse me. When Nick was safely out of view, John glanced curiously at the dark corner. The rest of the cabin was well lit by his lantern and the glow from a single lamp by the door. It didn't seem possible that just one corner could remain so inscrutably black. He thought that he could just make out the silhouette that he saw before. And as he stared, it leaned forward and then seemed to stare back at him. "Nick," John said, struggling to compose himself. "Just what is it that's in that corner?" Nick ambled back into the room, carrying 2 steaming mugs. "Just what is what in the corner?" It moved." "Nah, pay it no mind, son. It isn't what you think." "Here," said Nick, handing over a mug. "It'll do you good. Warm those bones a bit." John took it with a hand that barely trembled. He sipped the tea, allowing his relief and comfort to overtake his curiosity. And if he was honest, his outright fear. He sank further into the chair. "Why'd you choose to live out here? So far away from everything?" His companion stared at him for a moment. "The world's a bad place," he said simply, and after a pause, continued. "Can I trust you, son?" As he spoke, a great howling sound erupted from the darkness. John jumped a little in his seat. "What the hell was that?" he asked. Nick shot a glance into the corner, and the howling calmed a bit. "Pay it. No mind," he repeated. "I have to know," John said indignantly. "How am I supposed to sleep here, not knowing what's in the room with me?" Nick sighed. "All you need to know is that it's very old, very dangerous, and I've been charged with its keeping. Happy? Now, off to bed with you. You're gonna need your strength." John allowed himself to be led down the hallway and into a guest bedroom. As he climbed gratefully into the large bed, Nick looked him hard in the eyes. "You may end up hearing sounds in the night. Pay him no mind. Understand?" He shut the door, and John eventually drifted into an uneasy sleep. Sometime later, he awoke to the sound of a man's voice, crying out in pain. He climbed out of bed and put his ear to the door. The cries were coming from somewhere in the main room. "Please," said the voice. "Please. You have to help. He's hurting me. Please." Unnerved but resolute, John went back to bed. The voice continued to plead for help all night long. "Please, you have to help me. Please." But he did as he was told. "He's hurting me." And did not leave his room. The sun never arose for John. When he awoke, he found himself shrouded in darkness, unable to move further than a few inches. "What's happening to me?" he said, panicked. He saw Nick sitting across from him in his big, squashy chair. "What have you done to me?" Nick calmly crossed one leg over the other. "I offered you my hospitality," he began. "But you've proved yourself unworthy." "I did exactly as you said," John said angrily. "I never left the room. I never went near that thing." "Aye," said Nick. "But you heard a man cry for help, and you did nothing. You ignored him. You went back to bed. You did nothing. And that's no way to treat your fellow man, is it?" "But I thought it wasn't a man. I thought it was a trick. You said it was—" Nick cut him off. "I said nothing of the kind. I said it was old and dangerous. And it was. He was a traveler, much like yourself. I did him a kindness. And he betrayed me. Beat me. Robbed me. Left me to die. So I locked him in the dark, where he couldn't hurt anyone else. And over the years, others have come and heard his screams. And I thought to myself, I'll play the monster, and he'll say whatever he must to escape. If they try to help the unlucky fellow, I'll show them the way out of the woods, come sunup. But should they ignore him, that's an even worse sin, and I'll consider his debt repaid, and the heartless traveler will take his place. That's you, son. He's been here for decades, and you're the first to show him no kindness. And you can imagine the toll that's taken on his sanity. That's impossible. Unless... John thought back to the stranger's comment about having many names. And suddenly, he understood. Indeed, son. I offer the same agreement to you as I did to the other. Let's hope the next visitor we have is a more rotten soul than you. So now John sits in the darkness, waiting for someone with a black heart to stray from the path. The cabin stands exactly as it has for a century or more, still keeping its secrets locked inside. From within those four walls, you can hear the sounds of a man going about his business, untroubled by the cruelties of the world. And after all those years in the dark, thanks to John, I'm finally free.